Hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Keynote. My name is Keandra Ward. I am the founder and president of Keystone Business Institute and Keandra Ward International. So remember I told you guys that I will be coming on daily to do my keynote. Sometimes you'll see me live, sometimes it'll be the audio, but either way, I want you to join me here around 11 o'clock every day. Monday through Friday, let's just say that, because you know I'm going to take a break on the weekend. And you guys saw this weekend that I stayed in the bed on Sunday till like 2:30. So we're doing good. That was a new for me, and my friends kept checking on me. It was so hilarious. But I wanted to talk today. The title of today's message is "It's Happened to Me," and I'm going to tell you guys a story that happened to me I was around 19 years old. So just to give you a little backdrop, I am now 41. So I was 19 years old. I had been working since I was 14 in a salon, and I had been saving my money. And I was so excited about having my new apartment and furnishing my apartment. I had just bought a brand new car. And the gentleman actually at the car dealership really helped me and allowed me to see what money as an entrepreneurship looked like and how I should manage my funds. And he really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And that's a different story for a different time. But I had saved my money. I just got my apartment and I was looking for furniture, and I went to Rooms to Go. And as you know, I love Rooms to Go. And, or some of you know, I had went in Rooms to Go and I found a set that I absolutely loved. When I tell you I love this set, so I went back and I made the money and I saved the money for my set. So then it was time for me to go get my set. I walked in the store. I was so excited. I actually had, at that time, I was 19. So I had the cash all in my purse. It was crazy. I went to the bank and, I just was so excited to get my furniture. So I walked in the store and I was like, hey, the gentleman came up to me and he said, we don't have a lot of ruckus here. And I was like, well, what do you mean? It's me. I'm by myself and I just walked through the door. And he was like, yeah, we don't have a lot of workers here. We have police, and surveillance. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, I said, I'm coming to buy furniture. And he was like, well, you have to have good credit to buy furniture. And so at that point, I looked at him and I was like, who says I'm using credit? You know what, sir? I'm not even going to talk to you. So I went to the desk and I went to the manager and I said, listen, I walked in the store and this is how I was treated and greeted in your store. Now, the manager, I will say, she handled it perfectly. And when I say she handled it perfectly, the gentleman was reprimanded and he was later fired. Simply for racial profiling, because literally I walked in the store. So now I'm pissed. But what ended up happening is I turned around and I said, I'm not going to allow you to not let me get what I came to get, because that's what you wanted me to do. You wanted me to walk out of the store. So I did not do that. I walked over to another representative and I said, hey, do you guys work on commission? And, he told me whatever. And I said, listen, I want this set. And he was like, okay. And I sat there and I purchased the entire set cash and had it delivered. And so that was my first experience. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Black until I moved to an area called Richmond Heights, which was predominantly white. And so I've had and I've grown up with the best of both worlds. But in this case, I had never had anyone almost deny me or not want to serve me simply because of who I was. And it really was a shocker to me. Now, at that time, I held restraint and I did not act foolish, but I did make sure that he was reprimanded. And I made sure that they knew that if they didn't do anything, it would be a much bigger problem that they didn't even want to engage in. But what I realized is that everyone doesn't have that story. Everyone doesn't have the story that the outcome was great, or that the outcome was, I'm not even going to say great, but it was better than what they expected. And so there have been several times I've even been in the mall with my friends and we've been followed, just based off the color of our skin. So there's so many areas in my personal life. And then on the flip side, I've worked in salons and places with people of other nationalities and colors and creeds, race creeds. We had different religions, everything, and it never had a problem when it came to my own personal work. But it's always been outside of the things that I did, places that I wanted to spend money or places that I wanted to go. And as I told you guys before, I do not have any sons that I birthed, but my daughter has two brothers. They are older. I have nephews. I have best friends. I have uncles. I have cousins who are males. And every day I hear, or and I'm not going to say every day, but often I hear stories about them being racially profiled, or they're going for a walk or a run. And I'm telling them to be careful, not because a car may hit them, but because somebody may choose to harass them based off of who they are, doing a natural thing that everyone does, exercise. You guys know I spend a lot of time with my best friend. He goes for walks all the time. And every time he goes for a walk, I tell him, I begin to pray. I'm an intercessor. So he's going for a walk in a neighborhood that he pays money in and pays for housing and living. And I'm up here praying that he makes it back safe after his 2-hour walk. It's crazy that we have to live in a time like this, but this is the world we live in. This is what we have to face. And so we have to be realistic based off of our experiences. Now, everyone that I'm connected to doesn't have the same experience as me. But that doesn't mean that I negate their experience because it's different, or because they're a different color, or they have a different systematic belief than I do. It simply is, I understand your viewpoint based off of who you are. And so that's all we want. I want you to understand my viewpoint based off of who I am, and now understanding what I've experienced. So it has, most times we don't realize that things happen to people. We may not go around saying it all the time. We may not go around voicing it. We may not have our fist in the air all the time. We may not have Black Lives Matter shirts on, or, things like that. But I want you guys to understand that we all have different experiences. We've all had something that we've dealt with that allows us to feel and view and be who we are, that makes up the fabric of why we do the things that we do. And so I want us to understand that we are not, yes, a lot of what you've heard, there have been men and women who have been senselessly murdered. There have been men and women of color, all different types of color, who have been racially profiled, including myself. I've been places where I've walked past someone and they have grabbed their purse, and I'm like, ma'am, from the looks of it, I can guarantee you I got more money than you. I would say, and at the time, y'all don't get it twisted, I would say little stupid stuff. But I really am disheartened by the fact that we feel as though if it's not us, it doesn't matter. And that's not the case. I have conversations with my friends who have sons, and they're like, how do I talk to my son about this? How do I tell them that, to walk up to the corner store, they have to be careful? How do I prepare them for if they are stopped? All of these things that we have to think about on a daily basis based off of the natural movements of people. Everybody, we go to the store every day. We go for runs every day. Some people were actually in their homes and were murdered in their homes, things like that. So I want you guys to know that not only during this time and this day of the blackout am I standing, I'm also praying, because that's what I believe. I'm also reaching out to politicians and trying to look at solutions to the problem. I think sometimes we talk about the problem a lot, yet we fail to find a solution, or even begin to look at what a solution would look like. We talk about it a lot. We talk about the problem a lot, but now it's time to really look at solutions. And what do we do? How do we How do we move forward? Because we won't be we won't be protesting forever. We won't be doing blackouts forever. We have to begin to look at what's the solution to this. Where do we even begin? And I asked my best friend the other day, I said, let's really talk about this. Where do we begin to look for a solution? And the first thing he said was, we got to look within ourselves first. Then we have to prepare our homes and look within and make sure that we're teaching and training within our homes, and then we go out into the world. And I said it yesterday, I got to prepare myself, my heart and mind, prepare my family, and then go out. But at the end of the day, I have been Googling and looking up local politicians, the African American ones and the other one, and white and I think it was an Asian guy. I'm looking at them all because I want to ask, I have questions. Because where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? We have politicians sitting in seats because they are there to help to provide solutions for the communities that they serve in. And so now it's time for us as a unified body to really begin to talk about and begin the conversation of looking for solutions. Because I have been racially profiled. I've been told I need, to come in and not make any ruckus, and I'm by myself. I just walked through the door. I hadn't said anything. I've had these situations, and I have listened to my friends who've had the same type of experiences or even worse than me. So yeah, we've all been talking about the problem. Now it's time to look at the solutions. Where do we begin the conversation? How do we begin to drive change in our communities and around the world? People are hurting everywhere. People are tired everywhere. And like I said, we have there was a letter that went out by let me find it. Actually, there was a letter, and I'll actually post it here on the page that I found, that was by some of the African American representatives in, I believe, Hillsborough County. Don't give me the line. Let me confirm that it was Hillsborough County, but it's the city of Tampa, the Office of City Councilman, District 5. And they were talking about, this was May 30th, talking about the protests and uprisings in Tampa, Florida. And they're the Black elected officials of Hillsborough County. And they were saying how they were disturbed by what was going on and things like that. So one of the things that I did was I went to all their social media and began to like their pages, because I want to follow them. I want to see the conversations that they're driving. And then I want to be a part of it. Are they having town hall meetings? Are we, what are we doing? I want to be able to know. And then I'm going to start reaching out. I got questions. How do we begin to drive a solution to the problem? See, what people don't understand is, by nature and by trade, I am an analyst. So I solve problems for a living for entrepreneurs. So for me, I get the understanding of, yes, it's happened to me. Yes, we're tired, but now it's time to look and drive and draw solutions. Where do we go? And there are politicians who are sitting in seats that we have elected them in, if you voted. And so they have a responsibility to begin to drive the conversation. That's what they are there for. They're there to begin to drive solutions to problems in their local communities. And so it's time for us to even put pressure, and I'm not saying be aggressive, I'm not saying be rude, but put pressure on the locals in all communities. I don't care what city or state or country you live in. That's what they are there for, and that's what that they are getting paid for, and that's what we as a community, we have to step on. We have to step into our rightful places and ask, hey, what's the solution? What are we doing to solve the problem? So guys, for today's keynote, I wanted you to know that yes, it has happened to me as well. I have been there. I have seen it. I have felt it. I have people connected to me who have had horrible situations with police officers at locations that they wanted to frequent to buy product, all types of situations. But we have to begin to look at not just the problem, but begin to analyze and provide solutions. So guys, again, my name is Keandra Ward. I am the founder and president of Keystone Business Institute and Keandra Ward International. And this is today's keynote. Always remember that it is up to you. It is up to you to make a change in your world. You set the tone for your day, year, and your life. Make it a great one, guys.